Jesus says that a nobleman was going away, referring to himself, and he called 10 of his servants. And he told his servants, I'm leaving, but I want to give each of you 10 minas. A mina is an amount of money. He says, I'm going to give you each 10 minas during my absence, and during the time I'm not here, your job is to do business till I return. That's your job in this gap between my first coming and second coming. In our case, between our salvation and our trip to heaven. I'm going to give you 10 minutes, and I want you to do business till I come. So during this time when you are waiting for me to return, I don't want you to be passive. I don't want you to be aimless. I want you to get some business done until I come. And so he calls the servants, and it says he gave each of them 10 minas. In Matthew 25, verses 14 and following, Jesus tells a similar story, but with a different twist. Because in Matthew 25, when he tells the story, everybody got something different. They didn't get the same amount as in this story. So let me explain. He leaves each of them 10 minas, and he uses the money to talk about something bigger than money. He uses minas, but he's talking about something bigger. He's talking about life. All of us have 3 of the same things. Everybody here has 3 of the very same things. What we don't have is what he talks about in Matthew 25, the same amount of the same things. We all have the same things, but we don't have it to the same degree. The first thing that all of us have is time. Now, we don't have the same amount of time. We're not all going to live to the same age, but we all have time because we're alive. With time from a kingdom point of view, because the nobleman went away to get a kingdom, the time in the kingdom perspective is a boundary in which opportunities exist. So within this thing called tick-tock, tick-tock, time is opportunity because you use your time to do things, to accomplish things. The second thing all of us have are talents. We have varying abilities. We don't have the same talents, but we've all been given capacity to do things for the king and for his kingdom, since the parable is about the king going to get a kingdom. We don't all have the same abilities. We don't all do the same thing, but we all have some capacity to serve the king and the kingdom. The third thing that all of us have are varying degrees of treasures, resources. Everybody doesn't make the same thing. Everybody doesn't have the same amount, but we all have some level of resource. So you all have time. We all have talents. We all have varying amounts of treasures, but we're not all equally valuable to the kingdom when it comes to doing business till he comes. We're valuable as people, but he's not talking about our value as people. All 10 were servants. All 10 belonged to the nobleman. All 10 belonged to the master. And he says, do business till I come. See, a lot of us are asking God to do business that he's waiting on us to get done. Any time in history that he wants to use means he must borrow that time from you. Any talent in history that God wants to use means he must borrow that talent from you. Any treasure that he wants to use in history, he must borrow that treasure from you. That's why all through the Bible, he must find a person, pick a person and use a person because he's entrusted with a person the minas, the time, the talents, and the treasures for what he wants to get done in his absence until he comes back, and he is banking on you because of what he left behind to you. Time, talents, and treasures. Not the same amount, but the same categories in varying degrees. He says you are to do business until the nobleman, in the story, the king, returns. That you and I are stewards of what we have been left with while we live here since salvation. And the job of a steward is to protect and expand the assets of another. The job of a steward is to protect and expand the assets of another. And so God is expecting that your life, time, talents, and treasures will protect and expand his kingdom purposes. The nobleman, Jesus, returns, and all of those who are his followers are called to him. And his question is, what did you do with the time, the talents, and the treasures that I left you with during my absence that I told you to do business for me while I'm gone? The question on that day is not what did you do for you? The question on that day is what did you do, as you'll see in a moment, with what was mine on loan to you. While the king is gone, he has left everyone in this room who has accepted Jesus Christ a remaining amount of time, spiritually endowed talent, and a certain amount of resources, but all the same category. And he says, do business. And then he returned and he wanted to know, what kind of business did you do? This is called in 1 Corinthians 3, the judgment seat of Christ, when he will evaluate what kind of business did you do for me and the advancement of my kingdom that benefited others, for which I got the glory. The first appeared, saying, Master, your mina has made 10 minas more. And he said to him, well done, good slave, because you have been faithful in a very little thing, you are going to be an authority over 10 cities. Ooh, ooh. When the master, the king, came back, he called the first guy. He said, now I gave you 10 minas, show me what you got. He says, Master, you gave me 10 and I made 10 more. In other words, Master, there's 100% return. I'm not just giving you back what you gave. I'm doubling what you gave me. And here's 10 more. I expanded what you gave me. The response of the master was accolades. Well done, my good and faithful servant. I am going to put you over 10 cities. Please notice something. The reward was consistent with the expansion. Heaven is participating in God's rule and being given responsibilities commensurate with your investment of your life during this interim period. We're told next that the second guy comes. And the second guy says, Master, I got 5. The master says, you are over 5 cities. Notice what he didn't say. Well done. He only said well done to the first guy because the first guy maximized the opportunities. Second guy was half-stepping. He doesn't get a well done. In other words, he could have done more, but he didn't. He was 50% there. And so he did not get accolades. It's like a person at work who goes over and above and the person at work who just does the basics. But he does get recognition in terms of a reward. He gets 5 cities, note, that is commensurate with his action. And so, he comes and he holds account these 2, but then we're introduced to homeboy number 3. Another came saying, Master. Oh, now he talking right. I mean, he talking right. He's talking like a committed follower. He says masters. Like folk in church hollering out Jesus. You sound good. Master. His terminology was accurate. Here is your minna. Here's what you left me, which I kept put away in a handkerchief because I was scared. He says, I was afraid because you are an exacting man. You take what you did not lay down and you reap what you did not sow. In other words, you're hard to please. I was just concerned about not losing it. I was playing defense. I was concerned about not losing it. He said to him in verse 22, by your own words I will judge you, you worthless slave. Do you know that I am an exacting man? Did you know that I'm an exacting man, taking up what I did not lay down, reaping where I did not sow? Then why did you not put my money in the bank? At least I would have collected some interest. You worthless slave. You call me master, but it hadn't changed anything you do. It hadn't changed any of your priorities. There's still no time, talents, or treasures used for me, my kingdom, my name, and the good of others. But you call me master. Your theology has not affected your activity. And that has made you valueless to my kingdom. The Bible speaks about 100-fold repayment. So those of you who are here today, and you're living the best Christian life you know how, you're giving your time, your talents, and your treasures for God's kingdom, and it's not been fair to you. It's not been right by you. Guess what God says? I think it's in Matthew chapter 5, around verse 11. He says, when you're having to pay a price for doing right, notice what he says. He says, rejoice. Wait a minute. How am I going to rejoice when I'm not being treated right? He says, because your reward is rich. He gives us some things now, but he's talking about the big payday. He says, you worthless slave, you wouldn't even go to a bank. Now, why wouldn't he at least put it in the bank? Because the bank keeps records. So when you deposit in the bank, there's a record. He puts it in a handkerchief because he does not want a record. He does not want a record of where this minna is. Why not? In case the king doesn't come back, I still got my minna. I still got my time. I still got my talent. I can live my life the way I want to live it. I left you here and you are absolutely of no value to me. There were people I wanted you to touch, lives I wanted you to change. There was ministry I wanted you to do. I had a plan for your life. And all I heard from you was, bless me, bless me, bless me. Now bless me, highly favored. blessed and highly favored. Says, you worthless slave. So what are we going to do with him, Lord? He says in verse 24, tell the bystanders to take the minas away from him and give it to the one who has the 10 minas. Tell the bystanders. So this is everybody watching your conversation with Jesus. This is all the other Christian friends that you knew who looking at your evaluation and your accountability and watching Jesus call you worthless. And then take his minas and give it. Let's give a bonus to the one who did 10. We're going to give them a bonus. See, because there are a few people here who not only going to get the 10 minutes, they're going to get the bonus. And the bonus will be God taken from you and given to them so that you wind up in heaven with less. You don't even wind up with what you started with because he's going to take that mina that you use for nothing and hand it to somebody who went all out for the kingdom and for eternity. What's the principle? What's the principle? He gives the principle in verse. The people say, but master, the guy already has 10. He says, well, let me tell you the principle. I tell you that to everyone who has, more will be given, but the one who does not have, even what he has, will be taken away. You don't get credit just for being a servant. You're saved by grace. You don't get credit for that. That's all of God. So you don't get credit for being a Christian. You get credit for serving the master and using the time and the talents and the treasures that he has entrusted to you for his glory, to advance his kingdom for the benefit of others to his glory. That's what he credits. You don't get credit for going to church. You don't get credit for saying I accepted Jesus when I was 10 years old. He says you accepted me when you were 10. You're now 70. Let's discuss 60 years of time that I gave you, of talents that I gave you, of treasures that I gave you over that 60-year period of time. Let's talk about that. Yeah, you get heaven because you're saved, but you get rewarded because you're a servant. So there's going to be a lot of transfer of wealth in heaven. See, this story guy didn't take the king seriously. They didn't live in light of his return. He didn't live in light of his return. God wants every day that you get up, I get up, and we all fall short in this, me too, but as a pattern, he wants when we get up in the morning to live in light of his return. That because it could be today, the question that you and I have to ask when we get up in the morning is simply this: God, what eternal difference do you want me to make today? Some days they'll be minuscule, other days they'll be huge, but it's being available. Lord, if you want to borrow some of your time, you loan me. If you want to borrow some of your talents, you loan me. If you want to borrow some of your treasure, you loaned me. Then I am available today, not just to ask you to bless me. I'm available today for you to work through me to be a blessing to others and to build my account for glory.